Fáilte, Fáilte go Alapa. Welcome to Scotland. My name is Beverley and I'm a traditional Scottish storyteller. The stories that I've learned have been handed down through generation after generation, and behind me stand all of those storytellers who passed on these incredible tales. The story that I have for you now is one of Scotland so many years ago. It's of Finn and the Fianna, a war band who travelled Scotland and Ireland and who were well known for fighting and loving and fighting and loving. And their stories are epic, and they can be told over one night and two and into the next day. This is the story of Fionn McCool, chief of the Fianna and of his men. Now Fionn may well have been a great warrior and a giant, but he was many more things, because Fionn enjoyed the land that was Scotland, the hunting. He enjoyed the fishing. He enjoyed chess and poetry and so many things. But most of all, Finn enjoyed a good riddle. And so one morning, when the war band had risen and they sat down to take in the incredible scene around them, and Finn, he looked at Culcha, the swiftest of the warriors, at Gul MacMorna, the greatest of the warriors. He looked at Oisin, the poet, and at Dermot, the lover. And he said to them, I want to ask you, what is the sweetest music? The men all thought about it, and they knew that to answer Finn, they must think long and hard. What is the sweetest music? Well, Dermot who had the love spot that he kept covered lest anyone should fall in love with him, well, he knew the answer. Why, Finn, he said, the sweetest music is the sound of the heartbeat of a woman in love. It's a good answer, said Finn, but I don't think it's what I'm looking for. Culcha, the swiftest runner of the Fianna, he stood at Finn's side and he said, Finn, the sweetest music is the sound of a blade of grass bending under my foot. A beautiful sound indeed, Culcha, I can well imagine, but it's not what I'm looking for. And now Oisin stood up. Oisin, who had a poet's heart, Oisin the little deer. And he said, Fionn, it is the sound of the hooves of the deer through the morning mist. And all of the Fianna thought perhaps this was indeed the sweetest of music, and they nodded their heads. But Gul MacMorna hadn't answered, and the fiercest of warriors stood, and he said, it is the sound of metal clashing on metal. And they knew that for Gul MacMorna this was the sweetest music. But Fionn McCool, leader of the war band, he shook his head and he called the Fianna to sit down around him. And they sat down and they listened and they heard the wild geese overhead, and they heard a bird in the tree, and they heard an autumn leaf as it fell to the ground. And they turned to Finn, and Finn told them, the sweetest music? Why, the sweetest music is the music of what's happening now.